Alright, so I'm going to show how to replace the screen on this MacBook Pro 13-inch model A2159. This is a 2018 or 2019 model, so the directions will be pretty much the same. So what you'll need is a Pentalobe 1.2, a T4, T5, and a T8 screwdriver, okay? So first what we're gonna do, actually you'll also need a Pentalobe 0.8 as well, okay? So that's what this screwdriver is going to be. Alright, so first what you want to do is remove all the screws from the bottom. So you will use the Pentalobe 1.2. So there are 2 on the back here near the hinges and then 4 on the front. So you'll remove all of those. Try and keep your screws in order. I'm going to put them out here on the side so you can, I don't know if you'll be able to see, but I'll put them on the side here. Hopefully I don't knock them over. But this is how I kind of keep track of my screws. Normally I'll put them further away or in like a magnet tray like in this pattern so that way I can keep track of it better. But just to make it easier for you guys to see, I'm gonna try and keep them within camera view. If I knock them over, then I'm not gonna do that again, but we'll do this one time. So these screws are different sizes, different shapes, so don't mix them up. All right, the 2 bottom middle ones are much smaller. And then the 2 corner ones are a little bit shorter, and the ones towards the back hinges are longer. But anyways, as you can see, I put them in this pattern just so that there's no confusion. And to make this job easier, you'll also want a suction cup. If you don't have a suction cup, you can use tape. Just get 2 pieces of tape, put them like along here, and then make them meet up like this. That way you can use it as like a pull tab. But anyways, I'll use the suction cup, pull it up. That way I can get my fingernails or pry tool in the gap here. Once you get your fingernail or pry tool in the gap, just slide it around all the way to the side. Once you get one hand on the front here and then one on the side, you can kind of pop it up, okay? It's easiest to pop it up from the side, not from the front. So go into the side here and then I push down with my thumb on the case so that I can pop it up like that. There's also clips in the middle, but usually once you pull the 2 side clips out, the middle ones also pop out. Alright, once you do that, lift the cover up. This will be a little bit difficult, but you want to push on the bottom half with the screen and everything while you pull this metal cover towards yourself. So just like this, okay? This one actually came out pretty easily. It feels like there's a liquid spill in here. But it can also help if you push on it this way. So just do like that. Alright. Yeah, I don't know if it's liquid, but it's like greasy. So I'm going to clean this stuff off. I wonder why it's greasy in there. I mean, the only issue they said was with the screen, so hopefully it doesn't have any other problems. I've had a few customers where they'd bring a computer with multiple problems, but they'd tell me just about one and then try and basically say I damaged it more. So kind of have to be careful with some of these things. Alright, I don't know why this is greasy, but I'll clean it just in case. I don't want anything to get inside. Alright, so the main thing we're doing, so on this one we're just replacing the screen. If you want to see full disassembly videos, I have other videos showing these models. It might not necessarily be the same exact model, but if you watch the MacBook Pros 2016 till 2020, probably they're all the same inside, or up to 2019. Okay, so first thing you want to do is disconnect the battery once you get inside. So it's underneath this plastic cover, so just peel this up. If you go slowly, you can save all the adhesives and stick it back down. So this is what the adhesive looks like. This little circle attaches to this screw here, and then these parts go around this cable. Alright, so we'll set this aside as well. I don't know if I can keep all of these in view, but whatever. Alright, if it's not in view, I'm sorry, but okay. So next you got to remove this connector here. So this is part of the battery connector. I'm not sure why they have two separate connectors. Maybe this just sends like the charge state and everything. But anyways, you flip up that little black plastic piece. Be careful with that. I've heard some people say they lost it. If you lose that, it's very difficult to get this to go back in. Or I mean, you can put the cable in, but it's not gonna connect properly, so you won't get power. But basically, if that happens, if you lose one of these little tabs, you can get like a thin piece of card or something, or just put some extra tape underneath to thicken this cable, and then when you plug it in, hopefully it will push it up against the pins. Alright, so hopefully you won't have to deal with that, but yeah. So once you disconnect that cable, there's this big screw under here. Oops. Yep. So you want to remove this screw. Alright. Be careful not to drop the screw on anything inside the computer. Alright. So once you remove that screw, lift up this little metal tab just slightly. Okay. You want to lift it so that it stays up and doesn't make contact with the gold connections on the bottom. Once you do that, open the screen. Press and hold the power button. You want to hold it down for about 15 seconds. That will make sure it drains any power so you don't accidentally damage any components inside. I had one MacBook Air where I was trying to change some stuff and I accidentally damaged something on the board, and that's going to cost me a lot. I have to buy the person a new MacBook. So very important. Make sure you disconnect the battery, hold the power button down. But yeah, all right. So once you do that, you'll want to use a, let's see, you'll use a T4 screwdriver to remove these small screws. So I'm going to remove all these small screws. So there's these two hinge covers on both sides. You want to remove both of those. Okay, let's see. Maybe I'll put them back there. Hopefully I won't knock it over. But so you got these two screws here. So if you're working on a desk and you don't have to worry about filming anything, then you can probably do this a lot easier. You don't have to worry. You can put the screws further away from your work area. Then you can pull this plastic piece out. When you put it back, make sure this piece goes underneath the metal frame. Okay, so we got that. Same thing with this side. Alright, take those screws out. Alright, then you can take this metal piece, lift it up. You might have to wiggle it around. This one's kind of stuck for some reason. Normally it's not like that. Then put that down. Alright, now we got to remove all these screws. Usually the replacement screen, it won't come with the metal bracket over the top of these. So we will have to remove these metal brackets and swap it over later. But you can leave, well, I guess we'll just take them out for now. Let's see if we can transfer them over to this. So if you're doing this, be careful. I'm not going to put the screen over the motherboard because I don't want to cause damage. I'll actually put those metal plates later, but I'll show you. Okay, so take these screws out. I'm going to remove this metal plate. Alright, then take the metal plate. So I don't know if it matters which, if you put it upside down, be careful because there's these foam pads, so the small pad will go over this and then the longer pad will go over the cable. Okay, keep that in mind so you don't flip these things all over the place. Okay, same thing with this side. Move those two screws. So these are all T4 screws. Same thing, one little pad for the thing and then the long pad for the other rest. Okay, then we're gonna disconnect the LCD connector here. So you do want to remove all the screws first, so that way when you lift it up you don't accidentally bend the cable. So remove the two screws here for this metal plate. Take the little metal plate off. Alright, the metal plate also has like some rubbery foamy stuff under it. Alright, then take this two screws out from this small metal bracket as well. This screw's pretty long, so just know you have to kind of unscrew quite a bit. Okay, just like that. Right, once you get that out, then same thing, this also has a black foamy bit underneath, and then actually both sides have a piece on top. The thicker one looks like it goes on top. Actually, I don't know if it matters. Yeah, the thicker one goes on top, so you want the thicker piece of the foamy thing on top. Alright, so once you get that, you can disconnect this LCD connector. Just get your fingernail underneath and pop it up. If you don't have fingernails to do that, you can use a plastic tool. Don't use something metal, or you can short it out. Alright, there's 2 screws holding in this these 2 spring-loaded things, so you want to remove those as well. Alright, they kind of line up with these silver things, so I'll just put those there. Okay. Same with the other side. Alright. I have a customer messaging me, but I'll respond to them later. Okay. So now we got these spring-loaded things disconnected. Alright. I believe that's all the T4 screws, so now we're gonna have to switch to the T5 screwdriver. So there are, I think, 5 T5 screws. So there's one here on this side of the board. Okay, so you want to remove that. You're probably not gonna see these screws, but yeah, there's another one here. Okay. And there's another one on this side. Okay, there's another one here. And then we have to disconnect the wireless antenna. Okay, so we got those 4, and then the 1 screw for the wireless antennas. Alright, now that we got all those screws out, you do want to disconnect the wireless antenna, so use your fingernail or a pry tool underneath where the tail is, and then just pop it up. Okay, I use 2 fingers at once so it's easier. Alright, this one's a little bit awkward, so there we go. Alright, now that we got all of those out, we need to remove all the pentalobe 0.8 screws. So these are the same as what iPhones use. Alright, so just get those out. There are 6 screws on each side. Okay. So, sorry you won't be able to see this, but I guess I can kind of zoom out a little bit. Let's see. There we go. Alright, 3. Oops. Make sure that you got the screwdriver in well. You don't want to damage the screw and then it'll be stuck forever. Okay, 4, 5. These screws are so tiny, I don't think they even have a screw extractor that will work well for this, so again, be very careful you don't damage these screws, or you will have to probably just drill them out or something. Alright, then get rid of the 6 screws on this side. Alright, so once you got all those screws out, you can remove the wireless antenna. Let's see here. So the wireless antenna kind of comes up like this. So you can kind of pull it up. Once you kind of get part of it up, you want to move towards the center because you need to pull up the center part of the wireless bar. So I move my finger along the back here and kind of pop it up, just like that. Now you can see the whole wireless antenna board is coming up. Alright, you do have to get it underneath the LCD wires here, so just know that it's going to be a little bit tricky. This metal piece sometimes get caught up here, so you have to kind of move it around, right? And then just guide it around just like that. Okay, so we got the wireless antenna board out. We'll set that aside back here. Alright, so now the only thing left is to remove the hinges and then put everything back together once we take out the screen. So now you open the screen all the way. I like to hang the computer off the desk like this. Okay, so now that it's like that, we need to switch to the T8. And also for these screws, I like to put in thread locker to keep the screws from coming back out when you open and close it. But yeah, so we'll remove these 6 screws. Okay, 3 on either side. Alright, so we've got those 3. And we'll get out these 3. Okay. Alright, now that we got those 6 screws out, you should be able to lift up and remove the thing. So let the screen fall a little bit, and then you should be able to lift it out just like that. Okay, so now we got the broken screen out. Set that aside. We'll take the replacement screen and remove the protective stuff on it. So when you have this tape on it, make sure you hold down the board when you peel it up, because you don't want to accidentally yank on the screen cable. Okay, so oh man, they put this dumb stuff that's stuck to it. Okay, so peel that up. Alright, hold it down, peel off the tape, hopefully you can see that. Alright, and then just peel all the tape out. Okay, so we'll throw that tape away. Okay, remove the pink thing. Alright, so there is a little trick to this. So the hinges, they're folded down, so you want to open them up just like the old one. So what I do is I take the T8 screwdriver and then I'll use the screw mounting hole to pry it up just like this. Okay, and once you got them open all the way, we'll do the same thing. Basically have it hanging off the desk. And then again, of course, you have to pull these cables up so that way they can go over the top. Okay, so let's see. Hopefully you can see this in camera. But basically you hold all these cables up. Make sure that the LCD connector cable that's here is up, so keep that out of the way. Okay, and then put the hinge in, just like this. Alright. Make sure that they're both going in properly. Alright, line up the hinges and then drop it in place, just like that. Okay, so now that you got that, make sure these things are in properly, and then you can hold the screen up again like this. Put the screws, usually I'll just put like 1 or 2 of the screws, the ones closer to where the hinge mechanism is. So I'll put the screws like this. Okay, just like that. Tighten it up. Once you got the screws in, you can close the screen. Alright, just like this. Be careful when closing it in case it's not lined up properly. If something is hitting part of the screen, you want to make sure to readjust it, the screws, before you close it all the way. Okay, so There we go. And usually once I do that, I'll peel off the plastic protective layer. Alright. And I do that so that I can undo these screws. Okay. Once I undo those screws slightly, the screen can move around freely from the bottom, so I will use that to align the screen properly to make sure it's all lined up. Alright. Once it's lined up, I'll tighten the screws back down. Okay, just like that. Flip the MacBook back over so I can put the rest of the screws back in. And now I will use the thread locker. Okay. And you don't want to apply this stuff over the top of the computer because it can drip sometimes. So what I do is I'll attach the screw onto the screwdriver, I magnetize it, and then I put a drop of this stuff on there. So it's very little. Alright, once you get that, put the screw in. Oops. Okay, line it up, and then tighten the screw down. So this prevents the screw from jumping around. Alright. Alright, same thing with the other side. Drop off this thread locker. Okay. Tighten the screw in. Okay. We'll go with the other one. And once you get in the other screws, you can undo the screws we put in at the beginning, and then you can add the thread locker on these as well. Okay, just like that. Again, I usually only put the thread locker on these screws because a lot of times the hinge movement will cause the screws to become loose. It doesn't happen so much on Macs as it does on other laptops that are made with plastic hinges because it's much more rigid, so it doesn't move back and forth as much. But sometimes these come loose, and then people have issues with the hinges or the screen becomes wobbly, and this is usually why. Okay, so I like to make sure that the screws are all nice and tight and they aren't going to come loose. Okay, just like that. So now we've got them all done. Close up the thread locker, put it away. Okay, so we got that. Flip the computer back over. Now we have to get the wireless antennas back in. Sometimes you have to curve the wires back so that they're not turning at an angle like that. But anyways, actually, let's see here. Should I put that first? Okay. I'm actually going to tighten down these spring-loaded ones first. So these, you have to kind of rotate them and then get the springs to go downward like that, okay? So let's switch back to the T4. We no longer need the T8. Okay. All right, grab the screw, line it up, tighten it down. Just like that. Oops. Don't need the metal bar. Okay, tighten that down. I'm not sure why Apple put these because I don't think these cables are actually attached to anything. I think it's just a piece of plastic actually, but I've never cut one open to know for sure. But I think these parts with the springs, I don't think they're really attached to anything. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Apple put it there just to make changing the screens more difficult, but I don't know. There could be some purpose that I just don't know about, but I don't see it connected to anything, so I don't think so. Alright, so we got that. Now that we got all those pieces down, again, let's try putting the wireless antennas back in. It's a little difficult because you have to thread it through that hole that it came out of, right? So you kind of have to kind of tilt it weird, and then this metal part with the screw that the screw goes through is a little bit difficult to get to go underneath and through. Some models are easier. This one's not as bad. There are some models that make it extremely difficult. All right, then underneath, let me see here real quick. Yeah, so underneath, I don't know if you can actually see, but there's these silver little bumps on it, and that actually wedges over the other part on top. So it's kind of like there's one part that sticks up on the bottom, and then the other one's like a thing that it clips on. So that's sometimes a little tricky to get it to snap back in place, but basically you get it all lined up. Kind of have to lift it straight up, and then you can push it down, make sure, and then you can tell it's in place because if you lift this, the middle's no longer kind of moving around. Okay, so that's how you know. All right, then we go back to the pentalobe 0.8, and we'll tighten in these screws. Okay. So usually I like to go from side to side to kind of make it more even. Make sure that everything is lined up. Okay, just like that. And then I'll take the middle ones. Alright. After you get these 4 down, then you can go through with the rest and it should be fine. Alright, and I like to press and hold the wireless antenna so that it's flush all the way in. Okay. Alright, so now we'll put back all the rest of the screws. I don't know why Apple changed the screen design on these models to make it so complicated. It kind of bit them in the butt because these models were having screen cable issues and they were having to replace them because they were just breaking on their own. Okay. So we got one side done. We'll go to the other side now. Alright. Alright, you get the idea. I'll probably zoom in now so you can see a little bit closer. But hopefully you got the idea with the screws. Okay. So if you want, you can put in these brackets first since we already got all the hinges in. Normally, what you do is you test everything before you put all these screws back in, but if it's not working, it's not working. I can't really do anything about it. I'm gonna have to order another screen, and that takes a long time to get, so might as well have everything completely reassembled so that way you don't forget where everything went or you don't accidentally knock stuff out and then get confused. Okay. So using the T4 again to put these screws back in. Okay. And don't over tighten the screws over these plastic things, just tighten it, just you'll know when it's tight, but don't like tighten it as hard as you can because you can damage these. Alright, so now let's put the antennas back in. So just bend the wire back over, make sure it's completely lined up. And then once you got it lined up, just push it down. Okay, It's very important to make sure these are 100% lined up. I've had people bend these wires, and after you bend them, the wireless antenna is pretty much dead. The nice thing with these models is at least the antenna bar is replaceable, so if you do happen to damage the antennas, then it's not too big of a deal. You can get a replacement. Okay, so now that we got those, we're going to want to use the T5 to get this lined up, sitting down properly. Alright, so we got the T5 screw here. And when you first put in the screw, just do it lightly because you want to make sure all the screws are able to go in properly. Sometimes if you get the alignment wrong, it's going to have problems. So make sure, just do it lightly first. Uh-oh. Okay. Alright, so get that. Tighten up that screw. Tighten up this screw. Alright, and then we'll take the last screw for the wireless antennas. Put that in there. Tighten it down. Alright, now that you got that, also don't over tighten these screws as well, because this, you can strip the screw hole if you tighten it too tight. Okay. Alright, so just tighten it to where, like, if you kind of lightly try and twist it, it's not easy to twist anymore. Okay, so now we'll go back to the T4 screwdriver. Alright, I'll reconnect this cable. It's a little tough to do while it's on the desk. You might have to pick it up to get a better view. You usually have to kind of pull this cable towards you a bit because it won't go flat on top if you just push it straight down. So there we go. So now we've got the cable connected. Alright. Want to take this metal plate, put it back on top. Come on. There we go. Let's go stay over there. And this you'll want to do one screw at a time as well, lightly. Alright, so tighten up the one screw. Once you get that, then you can use that as a pivot point to line it up. Alright, just like this. Alright, then you can tighten it down, tighten the other side down. Alright, put this metal bracket back on. Alright, just like that. Okay, tighten it up. Go, almost done. Got just the two metal plates and then reattach the battery connectors. And we're almost good to go. So there you go. You got the little foam pad on that side. Make sure you keep it on the right side. Alright. Again, like before, take one screw first. Line it up. Tighten it down a little bit. Get the other one. Alright. Push down those cables. Get lined up. Tighten it down. Right, same with this one. Same thing on this side. Grab the screw. Right, make sure the foam's on the right side. Okay, tighten it lightly. Line this up. Tighten that in as well. Alright, now that we got all of that, we'll switch back to the T5, push down the metal plate with the screw, okay? Just like this, alright, and then tighten it up. Alright, now that metal plate is engaged, so be careful because now the board is live and has power. Okay, so we'll lift this up. So make sure to lift the plastic tab out of the way for the this battery connector. Line it up. It's a little bit tricky. You kind of have to pull that tab. Okay. Alright, once you got it in, snap down the little latch. Cover that. Don't forget the little battery covered plastic thing. Line up the little circle. Just like that. Alright. And then this should be like flush with this part that's sticking up here. There we go. We'll grab the cover. Make sure the dust is out. Clean the dust out of the fan as well. This fan seems a little stiff. Hopefully it's okay. Okay. Then again, like before, how we took it out. Put it at the angle like this. Okay. You want to kind of keep this side down so that you can re-engage the clip. Slide it forward. Same thing with this side. Go back to this side. Back to this side until it's all flush. Alright, and then you can snap down the clips. Snap down the middle. Accidentally knocked one screw out of the way, so make sure. Okay, now we'll flip it over and see if it turns on. So we got that. Open it up. Let's take the screen protector off. Okay, now we get the plug. Sometimes the first time after disconnecting the battery, you need to plug it back in to get it to turn on. So plug it in. Right, give it a few seconds. Push the power button. Come on, turn on. There you go. There's the Apple. So it's good to go. Just put in the rest of the screws and that should be it. So here you can see, I don't want to show the count, but there you go. So the screen is working perfectly fine and we're good to go. So shut the computer down. Alright, I guess I can leave it plugged in for now. It needs to charge. You can peel off this stuff if it came with a little cover on it. This kind of tape stuff, I don't know why they use this, but it's very gross. It like leaves all this residue here. So if you have this issue, to clean it up, you can sometimes partially get up some of it with using the sticker, but this sticker, I don't know, they use one that makes it really difficult. So what I end up having to do is I take a piece of paper and some isopropyl alcohol. Oops, I didn't mean to stick it on there, but just spray it on there. Make sure there's no gaps here. You don't want to get the liquid inside the computer, but just rub that. And as you can see, it's slowly getting the adhesive off. You might have to use multiple pieces of paper to do this, so it kind of spreads the adhesive thinner. It dissolves it. Okay, so the paper towel or napkin will get slowly what do you call contaminated or something, so you will have to switch to another one. Okay, so there we go. We got most of the adhesive off. Grab another napkin, spray it. You don't want this liquid getting in the screen, so be careful. Usually it won't damage the stuff, but as long as there's no power in it. But this, since it's like a solid aluminum thing, it shouldn't be an issue. Okay, that's how you would remove sticker residue. So let's flip this over again, put a little more, and I think we are good. Just need to put the screws back. Okay, there we go. Nice and clean. nice and clean. Okay. This part took a long time to receive. I ordered this online from a company in China, and right now the ship times are taking forever, so just keep that in mind if you're going to order a screen from China. Normally it takes about 2 weeks to get parts from China. This time I think it took about three weeks. Anyways,